Hey all, welcome to the Newspaper Breakdown. It is the 6th of March. Hope we're all fine. A few news stories to get through. We'll start with trains. Train fares will rise up to 5.9%, which is the largest increase in more than a decade. However, the quality of our train services are still shit at best. As an example, the off-peak return from Birmingham to Cardiff will raise from £67.30 to £71.27, while an anytime day single from Liverpool to Leeds will raise from £39.90 to £42.25. Of course, we have some of the most expensive train tickets in the world. OBR figures have shown that there is the equivalent of 1 in 25 train services were cancelled in the year to the 4th of February. That is the worst reliability records dating back to 2014. It's expensive, it's shit, we subsidise it, and we're getting bent over and prices continually put up, even though they're putting no money into infrastructure, but their shareholders all get a pretty penny. This is supposedly capitalism, and it's wrong, isn't it? It's wrong, because we can't be subsidising them if they're not, and paying them with them putting no money into improving anything. That's not capitalism. That's fucking slavery. That's what that is. Ridiculous. The Immigration Workers Union and Labour have said that the government's plans to prevent people from coming over to the UK on small boats that include a permanent ban on ever setting foot in the UK is unworkable. The legislation is expected to be published this week by the government. One part of the proposal is to remove people to a third country and permanently ban anyone who comes on a small boat from re-entry or ever applying for British citizenship. It is, of course, been condemned by many, including refugee groups, as impossible to enforce, and will likely lead to tens of thousands of people fleeing war and persecution being locked up. The third country part of this is quite interesting because at the moment, the only third country, you should all no doubt be aware, is Rwanda. And Rwanda, and sending people over to Rwanda, is currently being delayed because, of course, they face a number of legal challenges, including being told that it's illegal. And so we cannot send any refugees to, say, EU nations, because not since Brexit have we been able to do something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what third country the government is planning. Also, this is continual. This is to stop human trafficking. This is what they say: stop human trafficking, stop human trafficking. It won't do. It won't. What it will do is, if these come in, you have given human traffickers a kick up the arse to sell their services harder, and they will just use others. They will use lorries, because not all of the ports or places to pass go through Calais, and so they're not all the checkpoints or the border points do not have the same level of security as Calais, so it will be easier to go to another part of France and do it that way. It would take longer, but it's still doable. Anyway, a survey of frontline paramedics and ambulance staff has found that 53% of ambulance workers have seen a patient die because of a delay in reaching the in the delay of reaching them after a 999 call, or overcrowding in the A&E. God, that was a terrible sentence. Let's do that like a fucking Englishman, shall we? Jesus Christ. So, a survey of frontline paramedics and ambulance staff has found that 53% of ambulance workers has seen a patient die because of a delay in reaching them after a 999 call or overcrowding in the A&E. Another 30% are aware of it happening to a colleague. 76% said delays had an impact on patient care every day, and 52% said that they had spent an entire shift waiting outside A&E to hand a patient over to hospital staff. The Royal College of Medicine last week issued new analysis suggesting a patient dies every 23 minutes as a direct result of spending at least 12 hours in A&E, usually because they are waiting to find a bed in the main hospital. You can look at this in many ways. I would look at it as the Tory party have fucked over the NHS so badly that people are dying because of it. That's how I would look at it personally, but you can look at it in any way you see fit. A group of world-leading experts on genetics has warned that the next generation of advanced genetic therapies raise profound medical and ethical issues. Medicines boosted on powerful gene editing tools will begin to transform the treatment of blood diseases, conditions affecting the heart, eyes, muscles, and potentially even neurodegenerative diseases before the end of the decade. But the cost will put them out of reach of many patients. Researchers say that trials of gene editing in embryos will probably follow, with some fearing fertility clinics could embrace the technology and offer gene editing services that fuel a new kind of techno-eugenics, which is slightly concerning. Also quite expected, really. The problem with technology is always who's going to stop where it should stop, and we never do. We are not evolved enough as a species to deal with how evolved we are in technology and medicine. Professor Jennifer Dorner, who shared the 2020 Nobel Chemistry Prize for gene editing, warned one of the biggest and most realistic risks is that people who could benefit the most will be unable to afford it because it's expensive. It is expensive. Professor Francois Baylis, a philosopher, said the situation could seriously threaten the aspirations for all humans to be born equal. They're not. This will just make it worse. You get to a point where parents grow you perfectly because they're rich. You're not going to be born equally, are you? These gene therapies could seriously help correct disease costing mutations or disease-causing mutations in patients' tissues and organs and become more sophisticated over time. However, it could also be used to enhance healthy humans to make them faster, smarter, stronger, or more resistant to disease, although as of this time, improving healthy is trickier than fixing something. And so 2 news stories left. We are not prepared for that evolution, by the way. We're not. The growth of being able to pick and choose our genes, we're not ready for that. Not at all. And we're not empathetic enough as a fucking a nation. We don't have the morals. Humanity doesn't have the morals to be allowed something like that. In the end, someone's going to attempt to do something mad, bollock stupid. 2 stories left. Despite pledging to pursue the lawyers, accountants, and financial institutions that helped clients carry out tax evasion, the HMRC has prosecuted only 8 cases in the last 2 years, which is a big drop from the 43 cases the 2 years before the pandemic. Limited resources meant fewer barriers for individuals to set up businesses that promote aggressive structures. The HMRC is under great pressure at the moment to recoup lost tax revenues from with the National Audit Office in December, revealing a sharp fall in investigations over the pandemic that had cost the government as much as £9 billion. Our overall tax gap in the UK, which is the difference between tax owed and tax paid, was around 32 billion in 2020 to 2021, which is the last year that we had actual data available for it. So do not forget, it's all your fault. The reason there's no money there is because of you. You're bad. Forget about all of the money from tax evasion, forget all the money from tax avoidance, forget all of the big companies and billionaires that aren't paying tax. Don't buy that avocado, Bell End. You don't want to suggest violence, but a lot of people need a backhand. A lot of them. Final story. United Utilities will appear in the Supreme Court in a landmark case where it will argue it should not be held liable by private owners and individuals for sewage released into UK waterways. This is one of a number of cases water companies and the government are facing over the mix of stormwater and raw sewage that is pouring into rivers and coastal waters, threatening human and environmental health. United Utilities argue that owners of the 129-year-old Manchester Ship Canal cannot seek redress. Only the regulator can take action, and they fucking won't. The High Court has previously sided with United Utilities. Lee Day, which is also running Dieselgate, the Dieselgate case against a number of car manufacturers in the High Court, has announced it is preparing claims to be brought against water companies accused of unlawfully discharging large volumes of raw sewage into England's waterways and overcharging customers as a result, which really is just the cherry on the raw sewage cake, is it not? Water companies should be under government run 100%, but they're not. They are privatized. They do not do the job. The regulator is useless, absolutely useless. It is like a fucking jelly dildo on a particularly warm day. It is pointless. They put no money into infrastructure. Thames Water leaks 650 million litres of water a day from their pipes. No updates, no infrastructure, and they're covering the country in shit. And they want to have the audacity to say that we as people cannot stand up to them. Terrible. Anyway, that's enough of that. I shall talk to you tomorrow. Bye.